Yeah, Nilanjan, you can start now.
All right. Very good evening to all of you who are present here. Uh, my name is Nilanjan. I am associated with Manya Princeton Review as an advisor, and uh, for last few years, I have been working as a advisor in this particular industry, and I have almost like 15 years of experience in education, and I have done my master's and PhD in STEM subject in physics in particular. The kind of students that I mostly handle, uh, they are applying for all well-established universities in USA, including Ivy Leagues, and they are mostly applying for STEM-related programs, technical and engineering programs and natural sciences programs for both masters and PhD level. Today, in fact, I am planning to discuss with all of you about the overview of the application process for MS program in USA with a specific eye on the scholarship. Uh, Before we begin, let me, of course, uh, tell you that the scholarship application is not done separately for master's program or even for a PhD program in USA. Uh, you will be awarded a scholarship. Although scholarship, this term is a very generic term. Any kind of financial aid uh, will be awarded to you based on your profile, academic profile, based on the skills that you show on your CV and your statement of purpose. Now, since you do not have to apply separately for a scholarship during application process, on your offer letter, you will be able to know whether there is any financial aid awarded to you. We will mostly talk about these things and the most important points that you should remember during the application process, which will be important to know or to understand whether your profile is good, whether your profile is competitive enough, whether your profile is also uh, suitable for a scholarship. I have prepared few slides, not too large, but then only like 20 to 23 slides. I won't take much time to describe whatever I've written in those slides, but then uh, at the end of the session, it will be more like a question answer session. So there we'll spend more time. Uh, the kind of information that I have provided, I hope my screen is visible. The kind of information that I have provided in these slides are very precise, uh, easy to understand, and important. Uh, Before you read what is written on this particular slide, let me tell you, it is very important for us to understand whether and how this university selection process happens in USA. Uh, the university selection process happens in USA mostly in two phases. Like your application uh, portal first reach to a graduate school. There we have a admission committee. It actually looks at your some part of your application profile. Then it goes to your department. The department people looks at your application profile, some specific parts of it. Then the department recommends your name to the graduate school, and the graduate school sends you an offer letter. That is how it happens in master's level uh, across all universities in USA. So it's a kind of a two-step process. So in these two-step processes, we the admission committee members will look at specific set of documents. We will talk about those specific set of documents, although in a brief manner, and then we will mostly talk about the importance of those documents and what is the ideal way to prepare it to gain maximum benefits in terms of admits, in terms of scholarships, and so on. Now, you can see there are 4 points which are mostly the points which the admission committee will try to find in your portal, I mean, application profile. Whether you have acquired basic and advanced theoretical understanding of the subject. This point will be understood from your GPA, from your transcript or mark sheet. They will look at the major subjects GPA in most of the cases, like last 60 credit hours or last 4 semesters if you're coming from engineering background, or last 1.5 to 2 years if you're coming from a bachelor's in science and so on. So the major subjects GPAs are also very important for many universities. So through that particular, they will try to understand your theoretical understanding about those subjects. Number two, hands-on experience. Your practical understanding is also very important. They will try to find out on your CV whether you have done some projects or internships or any research-related publications and so on, and also whether you have a work experience. Most of you probably may not have a work experience, but your exposure towards research or towards business, ideas and values through some internships and projects will be important. Of course, there is a way to write about all these things on your CV. There is a particularly ideal way to demonstrate your skills on your CV through these programs, through these co-curricular activities. We'll come to know about this at the end of the session. Number three, technical skills that are essential in the relevant industry experience. Somewhere, the admission committee will try to understand whether you are skillful enough through some workshops, through some certification programs. You need to mention somewhere what are the skills that you have. For example, you have used some technical tools for last 2 years, or you have written computer programming for last 2 to 3 years. Suppose you have written computer programming, say C++, or you have used Java for last 2 years. You have to somehow mention it on your CV. If I write I know Java, if you write you also know Java, then there is no difference between my Java and your Java, unless and until you write how many lines of Java approximately you have written for last 2 years. So that is how you build up a data-based application profile, so that someone who is going to read it should actually be able to understand that what is your level of understanding as far as that particular programming language is considered. So likewise, you need to look at each and every part of your profile so that it looks holistically complete. Number four, decent performance in standardized tests. Now, standardized tests means IELTS, TOEFL, or GRE, or GMAT. If you're coming from a technical field, then of course GRE is important. And this performance is very important because sometimes GPAs do not talk a lot. And GPAs are mostly, like, globally, they are not standardized. Like, USA use GPA of 4-point scale. Uh, the German used 5-point scale. Sometimes UK use percentage scale. Canada use 4-point scale. India, for example, uses sometimes percentage or sometimes GPA, out of 4 or out of 10. So just to standardize this thing globally, GRE has come up with a standardized nature. So that is the reason the score of GRE is very important for you. If you're coming from a technical field, then anything above 322 out of 340 is very important, and at least 164 in quant and 155 in verbal and 3.5 out of 6 in AWA should be something that should look good on your CV. Uh, Next is, of course, university selection. USA almost has 4,500 universities in the entire country. For you, probably 1,500 universities will be important because this is the typical number of universities which offer very good master's program. Out of those, probably only 300 to 400 universities will be important for you. And out of those 300 to 400, you need to apply to only 10 to 15 universities. So university selection is very important, and that should be an informed decision. You should talk to someone who has already done that, who already knows exactly how they recruit students. Based on your current credentials, you need to choose your universities. Credentials means your GPA, your GRE score, your co-curricular activities, your what do you call, you know, your research experience, your work experience, and so on. So each and every part of your profile will be important when you actually look at universities for you. Some universities are, inclined towards GRE score. Some universities inclined towards GPA. Some universities are mostly universities are holistic in, I mean, as far as the understanding the students' profile is concerned. But still, somehow some universities are more inclined towards some specific components of your profile, and so on. For example, UT Austin is very uh, particular about your research experience, so on. But as a whole, of course, whatever you provide to the admission committee through your application portal can be divided into these six elements of your application. Three elements are quantitative, three elements are qualitative. Quantitative elements or components are grade point average, GRE score, and TOEFL and IELTS score. These three are quantitative, which comes with some numbers. And other three are qualitative, like CV, a description of your profile, statement of purpose, vivid description of whatever you have done so far, and the letter of recommendations. You need three letter of recommendations. So you need these six components, you need these six documents whenever you will apply to an MS program in USA. Each and every component is important, and each and every component actually plays a role in the actual selection process, academic selection, as well as scholarship opportunities. Each and every component, I repeat, each and every component has its own role and importance when it comes to academic, admission plus your scholarship opportunity. Uh, GPA, grade point average. If I consider the 10 is the highest mark and 3 or 4 is the lowest mark, then anything about 8, 7.5 and above is a decent score. If it is more than 8, fantastic. If it is 8.5, very good. If it is 9 and above, then you are a very good candidate for all universities in USA. Most of my students who got into Ivy Leagues, statistically speaking, they all have GPAs more than 8.5. But I'm not saying that if you have less than that, you are not a good candidate. That depends on what are the qualities of other components. But GPA, independently speaking, is very strong component. Anything above 7.5 or 8, ideally 9 and above, is something that is very attractive. All right. Now, as I have said that although if you are coming from a technical engineering world, for example, and if you are doing 8 semesters, and during your seventh semester, if you are working, I mean, if you are applying to some university, then in that case, you need to show your all 6 semesters mark sheets, and last 4 semesters marks will be important for you. That is important. Uh, Next is GRE. Now, GRE for most of you uh, are important. In fact, for all of you are basically important. Uh, Maybe you can see some universities do not want GRE or have kept GRE as an option, but it is always advisable. It is always advisable that you write GRE, get a good score, and be eligible for all kinds of universities. For all kinds of universities. Like, for example, even if a university does not require a GRE but has kept it as an option, if your GRE goes to a certain level, then definitely you can send your GRE score to that particular university, but after consulting with your admission advisor whether your GRE score is suitable for that particular university. Uh, Now, shifting sands is GRE required is of course the question of the day. For many students, like if GRE is required, I'll also yes it is required. Even for those universities which have kept it optional, even for them it is good, because you can send your GRE score if it is a good score. Now, whether it is a good or bad score for that particular university, that you can consult with your admission advisor to find out whether it is really the case. Uh, Now, this is, of course, a very important and funny slide. GRE versus GP. Which one is more important? In fact, both are important. Independently, both are important. But if you see them together, GRE actually, uh, kind of supports GPA. If both are good, fantastic. If one of them is very good, then also it is fine, because I'm not saying that one actually compensates, but then it's like a complementary thing. I mean, you have a very good GRE score that looks very good on your profile, even if you have a relatively lower GPA like 7.2 or something like that. But a very good decent GRE score like 323 or 324, definitely that will take a very that will play a very important role as far as your candidacy is concerned in a holistic way. Uh, Now, these kind of slides, of course, talk about uh, whether you know GRE is important for other reasons. Yes, but as an overall, my general recommendation is always go for GRE. If you're coming from a bio-related background, you probably have seen that many universities have kept GRE as an option. Many universities have said that GRE is not required. I mean, there is a reason why most of the bioscience programs, biomedical or bioengineering programs, both at masters and PhD levels, do not want a GRE. There is a historical reason behind that. We are not going to look at that particular set of reasons, but then non-bio streams, they mostly require a GRE. Even for biostream, they require a GRE, but only for a limited number of universities. Uh, okay, and this is scholarship with GRE. Like, for example, I mean, another reason why I normally tell people to go for a GRE, because of the fact that a good GRE score can also help you in getting a scholarship as well. Say, for example, mostly the for technical courses, it is the quantitative part which becomes very important. Some universities also tell you, kind of suggest you a typical number which they normally would like to see on your profile as far as quantitative part is considered, like 168, for example, or 166, for example, out of 170. So if you go beyond that, then you're a very good candidate for them as far as the admission process is considered, and you're a very good candidate for them even for scholarship as well. Now, GRE in many ways, kind of influence their scholarship decision. Scholarship in the sense that, as I've told you, scholarship is a very generic word. When they offer you a certain amount of financial aid, they can offer you that in terms of a tuition fee waiver, like 5%, 10%, and 20%, and so on. So that much of amount you can consider to be financial aid awarded to you. So one type of scholarship can be your tuition fee waiver. That is one type of scholarship or a financial aid. Another type of scholarship is actually divided into three parts, which are broadly known as assistantships. One is teaching assistantship, research assistantship, and graduate assistantship. We'll talk about that later. But during your application time, you do not have to apply for any of these scholarships. It's just a simple academic application that will be used by the admission committee to understand whether you can be admitted and to understand whether you can be awarded a scholarship. So both of these can be evaluated looking at your application itself. You do not have to apply separately for a scholarship for MS program in USA. But what kind of scholarships will be awarded to you, that of course will be decided by the application admission committee itself. Whether it is a tuition fee waiver, you will come to know this during your admission time itself. You will get an offer letter. On the offer letter itself, there will be a statement saying that you are awarded a scholarship of $1,000 or $5,000 or 10% of tuition fee waiver and so on. Another type of assistantship, scholarship that I have told you, which is technically known as assistantship, normally is available after you reach there, not before you reach there. We'll talk about that afterwards. But my point is, GRE is one of the most important components which actually influences the scholarship and the admission decision of the application committee or admission committee. Uh, yes. No, IELTS and TOEFL, they are also very important. In fact, may not be as important as GRE because it's a smaller exam, smaller in the sense that mandatory, but then um, in some cases GRE becomes a kind of, it behaves like a big brother of IELTS and TOEFL. Although the nature is different, the purpose is different, but IELTS and TOEFL, being an Indian, you need one of these two. Now, which one is more appropriate? You can write one of these two. TOEFL is accepted everywhere. IELTS in some universities may not be accepted, but for all practical purposes, even if you write IELTS, it is fine. Now, if you're writing IELTS, it will be like, the structure, of course, will remain same. All like the four skills that will be evaluated will remain same: listening, speaking, writing, and reading. For TOEFL, uh, like all will be like out of 30. Like out of 30, you need to get at least 18, preferably at least 22. Good score will be 25 for TOEFL for each and every component. If you are specifically looking at speaking, then 27 plus out of 13 speaking in TOEFL is very important, because what I have seen that mostly people believe that your speaking part is important for teaching assistantship position, or teaching getting for getting awarded a teaching assistantship. And the speaking skill is important in particular, and 26 or 27 out of 30 is something that they are trying to look at. 90 out of 120 in TOEFL is considered to be technically good. If you are getting 100 and above out of 120, this is, kind of, you will be comfortable in all universities. Because 100 is something that will be required by, only by some particular universities. But if you are getting that, then you are okay for all universities. I mean, you are a good candidate as far as TOEFL is considered. For IELTS, 9 is the total marks that you can get for each and every band or each and every skill. Out of 9, like TOEFL, here also speaking is particularly important. Out of 9, if you get 7.5 and above, you're a good candidate for even for a teaching assistantship, and that will actually uh, you know put you to a better position as far as teaching assistantship is considered, if you get a good speaking. And I don't think it is too difficult, because I have seen many students getting 27 or 28 out of 30, but it requires a practice, or 7.5 or 8 out of 9 in speaking. But as general recommendation, 7 or 7.5 as an overall score out of 9 in IELTS, and at least 6.5 in each skill will be important for any university. And I'm not saying these details just for the sake of saying, because I'm saying these details keeping the scholarship or the financial aid in mind. Next is CV. We will, of course, come to the CV part later. We'll come to this, statement of purpose later. But CV, statement of purpose, and projects that you write on the CV are once again very important for you. Now, when you prepare a CV, let me tell you, a CV is the first impression about you. Write about your project, you write about what you have done in the project, when you have done it, where you have done it, learning outcomes, and some abstract of the project, so that somebody who is going to read your CV should be able to understand exactly what you have done. So your CV is one of the most important part of the uh, entire program. Next is, of course, uh, statement of purpose. But before I go to statement of purpose, let us also look a bit detail on the CV part. For example, an internship. Suppose you have done an internship. How to write an internship on an academic CV? You write where you have done it. Say engineering intern XYZ company. You have done it in Bangalore. You have done it like from May to July 2019. You write an objective statement of the program. What exactly was your problem statement on what particular project you have worked? Contribution, your contribution, what you have done, that also you can mention within a couple of lines. A learning outcome in 3 bullet points, what you have learned. So what you have done and what you have learned. So learning outcome is very important, because also because of the fact that US universities, for most of their programs, if you have explored US universities program link, a program page, many universities you have seen that they have mentioned learning outcome of that program. So they take learning outcome that seriously. It is through learning outcome that they will understand how far you have understood, how far you have learned. And through that learning, they will be able to understand whether you are a good candidate for them. See, you have chosen a university, but that doesn't mean that you will get the university. They have to choose you as a candidate, and they will choose you only when they will find your profile suitable for them. And how will you prove that your profile is suitable for them. It's not only your GPA, it's not only your GRE or IELTS, but it is also what you have learned through that. Your numbers, of course, they make good sense, but numbers sometimes deceptive or deceptive. Like, you need to suppose you find many of your students, many of your friends who have not scored well, but they have done a good projects, they have done good internships. So for them it is very important to write the importance of your internship, the importance of your project. What is your learning outcome, whatever you have done, what is your contribution. These information are very important for those who are going to read your CV. Certifications, please write whatever certifications you have and what you have learned in that certification within one bullet point, like one statement. Technical skills, I have told you that you need to mention your technical skills, like the tools that you have used, or AutoCAD, maybe CATIA, maybe some other mechanical tools, maybe some computer programmings, and how far you have done that, how far you have used, how long you have used it. Or also you can mention some operating systems, like any operating system that you have used for how many months and so on. So you should be able to prepare your CV such that it gives a good transparent information about you. And someone who is sitting in America looking at Indian students' CV, and you're not going to talk to them over a phone to tell you exactly what you have done. Your CV should talk about you. So someone who is going to read your CV within, say, a minute or so, because it's a two-page statement, should be able to understand what you have learned through those, those what do you call activities. So your learning outcome is very important. Three bullet points, one line statement about learning outcome should be good enough. Projects. How many projects are good? Now, of course, I mean, if you have done 5 projects, write 5 projects. But then, if you have done too many, then write only the major projects where you think that you have, contributed something. If you have published a paper, write the about the journal, the and the abstract of that particular paper, like what exactly you have done in that particular journal. Then statement of purpose. Statement of purpose is the biggest, you know, component of the profile, where they will be able to understand whether you're a good fit for them and whether you should be admitted. If they think that you should be admitted, they will try their best to give you some amount of scholarship. Statement of purpose is definitely one of the most important, uh, you know, components of your profile, which talks about your motivation, your academic background, whatever you have done, the details of your co-curricular activities, your work experience, your research experience, why you have chosen that university. You need to mention about the department you are applying to, mention a couple of professors' name, why you think that they are important, their work is important, and talk about your long-term and short-term career goal, and also talk about why you think that your aspirations will be met if you are admitted, and what kind of skills that you will be able to bring on their campus. Finally, the timeline. We are in the middle of October. If you're looking at fall 25, let me tell you, December first week onwards, the application deadlines will begin. Effectively, that means that you are 1.5 months away from your deadlines. But of course, the deadline will go on and it will go on till March or April, even for international students. But earlier the better. I normally recommend my students to finish their application by, say, December first week. But yes, there are few universities which have deadlines prior to that. But then once again, they are priority deadlines. For example, Carnegie Mellon University, it has a priority deadline on 20th of November, which is just a 1 month away from now. But of course, they have some other deadlines as well. Priority deadlines are the deadlines where, if you apply by that deadline, you will get certain benefits as far as scholarship is considered. And mostly from December onwards, see, universities have two kinds of deadlines. One is a normal or a regular deadline, and other is a priority deadline. Normal regular deadline again starts from December, can go up to March or April. Priority deadline again starts from December, but it is either November end or December. If you find that your university has two deadlines, In fact, in most of the cases, universities do not have two deadlines for master's program. If you find that your university where you're trying to apply has two deadlines, priority deadline and regular deadline, try your best to apply for priority deadline. I mean, because of that, that financial consideration. But it does not mean that you won't be considered for a financial deadline if you miss that deadline. But of course, preference will be given to those who will apply before the priority deadline. That is for sure. But in most of the cases, as I have told you, the universities do not have a priority deadline. They have only one deadline, which is a regular deadline. Since there is only one deadline, there is no name of the deadline. It's just a deadline. So there are three kinds of deadline. One is a priority deadline, one is a regular deadline, and another is a rolling deadline. Rolling deadline means some people ask whether there is a first come first serve basis. In fact, there is no first come first serve basis admission process in USA, but there is something technically known as rolling deadline, which means that there is no deadline at all. They will continue to accept applications as they receive it, and then they will review and then they will give you their decisions. So there is no proper deadline. They will stop accepting it when the accommodation is full. So even for those railing deadlines also, it is generally recommended that you apply as early as possible. A rolling deadline normally, like, I mean, if they have started their application season from October or September onwards, rolling deadline, so there is no hard deadline. It goes on and on and on. So priority deadline, you know, hit that priority deadline or target that priority deadline for your financial benefits. Regular deadline is of course always there, and then rolling deadline is of course is not exactly a first come first serve, but yes, they will look at your CV first, or but then um, it's not like that, the way we normally understand first come first serve thing. uh, so these are the three deadlines that we normally talk about, and you need to manage your timeline accordingly. You need to talk to uh, your admission advisor on that. Now, the question, the financial aid. As I've told you that the tuition fee waiver that you normally get uh, on your admission letter is something that you get on the admission letter after you apply, but before you reach there. That depends on many things, as I've told you, that they decide whether you will be able to receive a scholarship or a tuition fee waiver, depend entirely on your profile and on each and every component separately. Uh, but yes, after you reach there, after you reach there, you have other options as well, like the assistantships. In fact, mostly there are three assistantships, three kinds of assistantship. First one is the research assistantship. Now, once you reach there, you can work over there for like 15 to 20 hours per week if you get an assistantship. 15 to 20 hours per week, and you will be paid some dollars on that. Then, but of course, it depends on what kind of assistantship you are getting. For example, research assistantship. Uh, there you work in a lab under a supervisor. You will be engaged in some research related work in that lab. If you have already done some research related activities in your undergraduation, then you are a very good candidate for them. Please highlight these points on your CV. If they want a research assistantship, then definitely they are going to consider you. You will be working over there as, say, data analyst. You will be reviewing some literature. You'll be reviewing some reports. You probably will be asked to give your own opinion on those reports, and you'll be given some results. Probably you will be asked to work with a team to understand the data, analyze the data, apply the data, and so on. So you'll be given some part of the project that they're doing, live projects. That is one part of the research. That is one part of the assistantship. And this is also very important for those who will be continuing for their PhD program in near future. You can actually mention on your PhD application CV that you have been awarded a research assistantship when you were an MS student. Graduate assistantship. This is not exactly a research assistantship. You will be working as a kind of a coordinator. Like you will be working in a department, you will be coordinating in a research conference, maybe a workshop, maybe a value-added activities, maybe any research, any educational academic program that is being held. You will be working as a coordinator of that particular program and so on. So That is, of course, dependent on whether you are a good leader or a leadership qualities, your speaking abilities, your other communication skill, interpersonal abilities, all these things. You'll be mentioning these things on your CV and SOP as well. So that will definitely help you in getting some graduate assistantship if that is available in the department. As I've mentioned, that workshop, certification programs, student service, all of these which are happening on the campus, you probably can be associated as a graduate assistantship to facilitate their program. Next is, of course, teaching assistantship, where you will be working with a regular tenured faculty or regular faculty over there. uh, a certain problem set will be given to you. You will be discussing the solution of those problems with your teacher, with your advisor. Then you will be engaging some students in a laboratory session. Probably you will be taking some tutorial. You'll be engaging some tutorial classes with them. You'll be solving some problems in tutorial. So solving some related problems on some course modules in the tutorial classes is a part of your research, a part of your teaching assistantship job. uh, Doing a laboratory session for some course modules for undergraduate students is also a part of your teaching assistantship job. So that is how it is done normally. And yes, so these are the three kinds of assistantship you can consider. But after you reach there, when you reach there, you have passed one semester, you have got certain decent GPA, you have certain relevant skills which are relevant for graduate assistantship, relevant for teaching assistantship, relevant for many people do teaching jobs as well when they apply for MS program or for a PhD program, for example. So you need to kind of identify that which assistantship you will be most suitable for, either it is a graduate or research or teaching, and then you can kind of approach. You can talk to your program advisor or maybe your department teacher to understand whether there's any graduate or an assistantship position vacant with them where you can go and contribute. So that is how it is normally done. I have reached the last slide of the entire session. Now I'll keep this open for uh, question and answer. You can, in fact, unmute uh, your mic and just go ahead with your questions. Otherwise, you can definitely type your questions on the chat box. I'll read the question and then I'll answer for everybody. Please go ahead. I hope I'm audible to all of you now. Uh, if you have some questions, you can unmute yourself or you can just simply write these questions on the chat box. We'll definitely keep this question and answer box open for a few minutes. Is there anything that you would like to understand for the entire application process? Please go ahead. Okay. I think there are a couple of questions. Said, you're asking if I am 2026 graduate, then when should I start applying? If you start applying next year around this time, so you have almost 12 months. Vaid is asking how many internships are a must to make a good applications. Uh, 2 to 3 will be good. Even 2 internships are also fine. See, even one is also okay if the quality is good. How you ensure that the quality is good? You need to kind of mention the key points about your internship or a project, like a small description of whatever you have done, like the basic the objective statement, the learning outcomes, whatever you have learned, and so on. These are very important. 3 is a good number. 1 to 3 is a good number. I mean, that should look good on your CV. There is a minimum CGPA should maintain to be a worthy candidate. No, as I have told that if you are applying, say for example, in for 2025, and if you are still a student, then now you are a sixth semester student, like you're a 7th semester student. You've already done your 6th semester. You're in our 7th semester. So in the month of November or December, you will be writing your 7th semester, you know, uh, year-end exam, semester-end exam. You probably have already received your 6 semesters CGPA, a GPA. So 1 to 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So last 3 years GPA you have. Definitely they will try to understand whether there is a decline or there is a increase in GPAs and so on. But then uh, anything above 7.5 is a good. But then what I have seen that last year, like 7th and 8th semester, the GPA goes very high. So if you're also able to include your 7th semester's marks, probably in that case it may go a little higher. But anything about 7 and 7.5 or consistently above 7 or 7.5 should be a good score. Possible to get into a good university without internship experience. However, I have good GRE score, decent GPA, and have one publication. Uh, yes, that is possible, but that depends on what kind of universities you think as a good university. And now, research experience, a good GRE, and a decent GPA will definitely take you to a very decent university. Many students actually evaluate university only in terms of QS ranking or only in terms of US ranking, US news ranking. And that is okay because that is how many students do it. But normally, personal and professional, I do not do it. But then I mostly try to understand whether university is good or bad for you based on what kind of credentials you have. So a good university for me may not be good for you, and vice versa. So we need to look at your credentials to understand whether some university is suitable for you. So instead of saying good or bad, let us say suitable universities for you, because even if you take world top 100 universities, uh, you know, in whatever you can rank them. Uh, that, I can tell you there are some universities which are consistently ranked within 1 to 100, but you never know the name of that university. So that is how it is done. That is how it is mostly. You can see it. So yes, it is possible technically, but then it depends on what are the components, other components you have. Said GRE and English proficiency both required, or just GRE is enough? No, they are required. English proficiency is mandatory. It's not even required. It is actually mandatory, because I guess you are from India and you have a your native is India itself. So definitely you need to write IELTS or TOEFL. If you belong to a country where native language is not is English, then you don't have to write IELTS or TOEFL. But being an Indian student, definitely you need to write either IELTS or TOEFL. So they are mandatory. Uh, Now, you have completed your learning through English language for last 15 years. Now, even if your medium of instruction is English for last 15 years, even in that case, you need to write either IELTS or TOEFL for MS in USA. But if you're looking at European universities for master's program, then some European universities may allow you to skip IELTS or TOEFL. They may tell you that okay, you bring a medium of instruction certificate from your undergraduate college stating that you have been instructed using the language English for last 4 years in your undergraduate classroom. In that case, that can replace IELTS or TOEFL. But for MS and USA, either of these two will be important. Uh, Now, the ideal timeline to write GRE and IELTS, of course, if you're looking at fall 25, then by October end you should be able to write. That should be done. If you're stretching it by November 15th, not beyond that. Akshita, you're asking, you are a 2024 graduate and you took a year gap to gain some experience while applying for the college. I'll have 3 months of full-time experience. Is that enough? Or do I need to wait another year? I have two internships during my college and one before joining full-time. See, 3 months work experience probably will not be enough. If you want, you can wait for another year. But even 1 year, since you have 3 months now, when you'll apply next year, you'll have 1 year plus 3 months. So you have almost 15 months of work experience. That is okay. But whether that will really help you, because 1 year experience is fine, but then whether it will really help you or not, that we need to find out. If you have already some other components which look good on your CV, then probably 1 year experience will not matter much. You can apply this year itself. Said you are asking, you're looking for fall 26. By which month should I take those tests? Fall 26. Again, ideally by September end or by October mid, you should be able to finish those tests like the next year. So, you still have almost 12 months with you. With probably yes. Normally these are uploaded on YouTube. You can check with uh, the contact number that is given in the beginning of this chat, and verify and just inquire. I think these PPTs are available afterwards online, like in the Manya's YouTube channel and so on. Does Manya provide additional LOR and SOP assistance? I didn't understand exactly what you mean by this. SOP is yes. LOR, we won't be able to, we cannot be your recommender because we are not your teachers and we're not your project supervisors. So someone who has supervised you for a particular project, or if for have taught you for some major subjects, can be your recommenders. But yes, if your recommender is telling you to draft a letter of recommendation, then probably you need to write a letter of recommendation. We can just have a look at it. We won't be able to kind of write it for you. But then statement of purpose, yes, we have set of editors who can kind of go through the entire draft to understand whether this draft is good, or the review they'll be able to review it to understand whether the SOP is uh, you know is to be edited, or some things to be included or excluded, and so on. No, high school teachers, no. I mean, please do not take your LOS from high school teachers. uh, anyone who has taught you a major subject, the designation is not important. You don't have to take from your principal. Someone who has taught you a major subject, or someone who has supervised you for a project or for an internship, can be your recommender. All right. So maybe we'll finish this session within a couple of minutes. So if you can have something, you can just go ahead. Fine. So I guess we had a nice discussion. If you want more information, of course, you can come back. And yeah, so best of luck to all of you for your future application process. Thank you. Thank you so much. Good night.